So Anthony, Glider is the main piece in our show. It's named after a track on the Spotlight Kid, a Captain Beefheart album. What else can you tell me about it?
Well, yeah, that album is playing at this very moment. That track is playing at this very moment, which is great. Glider, interesting because when I did the show, when I was getting the paintings ready for the show, I had to have Beefheart titles for each painting. And so I didn't. Often people think that what I did was that I listened to this music and painted that painting. But what I did was I'm a Beefheart fan, so I'm always listening to Beefheart, or Beefheart is playing in my head all the time in a sense. So when I did the paintings, it was a matter, as I always do with my paintings in a sense, I have titles ready or written down, and then I put the title to the painting. So when this painting was completed, in fact, what I did was I painted the whole show, and then I came back to the paintings and put a title to the painting.
So the titles come afterwards?
The titles were there waiting to be put on to the appropriate painting. So when I saw this painting, I thought this has got to be Glider, you know, because it just has that glider feel. It's a bit like, if we can move around quickly, to Ice Cream for Crow.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
which is another Captain Beefheart album.
Captain Beefheart album, and it is Ice Cream for Crow, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
I mean, it's there. I mean, there's almost a crow element in it, and there's an ice cream element in it. See, like in this Glider, there's a flight element in that with all the lines and that sort of like the linear feel to this. Meant that that was the right painting for that time.
Well, it has that swoop in it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like something gliding through it.
Perhaps. Exactly. So that's the way I work with the titles, and then if we go to Back Chain Puller over here, which is a study for the painting Back Chain Puller. Again, it was the sort of large Prussian blue dark area that sort of gave me, I thought, well, which one's going to be Back Chain Puller? Well, this is sort of almost battish. In that, you know, not that I'm trying to put.
So it's not too. There is some representational elements to them.
Well, let's put it this way: they're abstract paintings, but I have to look for something that's in the painting that's going to reflect the title.
Yeah.
So, and in this case, I thought, you know, this is as close as I could get to a bat. And there is a title, isn't there? There is a Beefheart title, so as close as a carrot is as close as you get to. Something jewellery, I can't remember it now, but there is a title. And then we go to like Strictly Personal 2 and Strictly Personal 1. And this is what I do find fascinating, James. You have got the album, I described the album to you because I haven't seen the album for years, and you looked at the album and we couldn't believe how close it is colour-wise, the painting, how close it is colour-wise to the album.
That's right.
Which is amazing, because I didn't know that until you pointed it out, so that's fascinating. But in the Strictly Personal ones, it's quite fascinating because they relate to the Roger Hilton over here, if we can go across to this.
Well, let's go through them in order then. So, Strictly Personal 1, this painting, has a lot of bare linen on it, and the Strictly Personal album cover is basically a brown envelope with stamps on.
Yeah.
And
with Beefheart stamps on.
With Beefheart stamps.
Yeah.
And
which
which could be, if we're thinking representationally or figuratively, what you were thinking in the back of your mind in painting this.
Although I didn't, you know, it must be subconscious because I really didn't know that. You know, so you phoned me up and asked about the album, and I described the cover to you, and I'd already done the paintings. And, so that was weird, strange and spooky.
Now we come to Strictly Personal 2, which is based on a 30-year-old canvas of your father's, Terry Frost, where you've treated it in the same way, but this has been influenced a bit further after seeing Metallica cloth.
Yes, exactly. I wasn't sure what you were going to say then after what I'd seen, but so yes, exactly, which relates to the Roger Hilton piece of work over here. But yes, after seeing the play, Metallica cloth, performed by my son Danny from the Third Man Theatre Company, are ready for bookings at any time. They are. I saw the play and it influenced me so much. The play is so good, and Roger Hilton is an artist that I really admire and was a great friend of my dad's. And they stuck together through thick and thin. And my dad was heavily, how can I say, not influenced, but inspired by Roger, who took him to Paris and you know, showed him all the art, because Roger studied in Paris, and he opened the world of painting to my dad, like Adrian Heath did as well, and they stayed big friends. And so, and I was always like, that's been in my head, although I was always frightened of Roger because he was this sort of like this guy who used to come to our house, and I was always like a little child, and I'd run away because he was usually a little inebriated or whatever. But the thing was that his paintings are possibly some of the best paintings I've ever seen, because you know they stand. He's never had these the acclamation that he should have, in the sense of he's as good as any American abstract specialist painter, although he's not an abstract specialist, but his paintings are so dangerous. And anyway, I saw the play and came back and did this piece of work here immediately afterwards. And the thing about this is that it wasn't supposed to be on the cardboard like that. It's just that I lay these small pieces of work on card.
So it started off like perhaps similar to one of these works on card, postcard size pieces.
Exactly. And then but I lay them on a bit of card, just on the floor, on my table while I'm painting. And in this case, this one, because I was working away and I wanted it to be sort of Roger Hilton-esque in the colours, you know, because he always sort of worked in charcoal and white and sometimes some crazy red or amazing blue. And so I did this piece with the play in my head, and then it stuck. When I tried to pick it up, it was already stuck to this cardboard. So what I did was, and also these bits are just where I was cleaning off, or they're from another piece of painting. And in my case, I'm always after that sort of accident element and the ambiguity.
Yeah, that leads you on to another stage.
Another stage. So I carefully picked this up at the sides and glued it down then.
Yeah.
So it's actually glued on it, and then took it to the framers, and the framers said, "Are you sure you want it framed this way?" And I said, "Yes, I want it framed this way." And so that's how this came to life. So all these elements became part of the work, and then I moved into the paintings.
Yeah, well, it's interesting how it does relate back to these two strictly personal pieces, and this one really is strictly personal to you, whereas the other one is more strictly personal to the Captain Beefheart.
Captain Beefheart, yes, because of the fact that it was a stretcher at my dad's studio that hadn't been used. Had nothing on it, but was like almost in the sense of almost rotten. Yeah. You know, and then I laid this new piece of linen, which was my father's linen as well, from the, you know, he had used on top of the canvas that was on there. And the great thing is, then I wanted to stuck all this down, but it bubbled in places. And that's when, as I cut into the bubbles to actually put glue underneath them. But I realised that as I cut into all these places, to actually put the glue, I stood back and realised the cuts were there to stay.
And they became part of the painting. They became
part of the work, like the Hilton being stuck to the piece of cardboard. So I'm always trying to be in a situation where
the work is evolving.
And elements that I have no idea are going to happen. But it sounds as if, it could sound as if it's sort of like, you could dismiss it in a sense. You could say, well, that's silly, that's just an accident. But it's not, because it's actually, as you can see in the painting, it takes me on further. Yeah. And I don't know that step, so it's actually that crazy step out there into another world, or further on into the world of painting.
And then lastly, we've got American Smoke.
American Smoke, which I'm really...
The title piece of the show.
Yeah, which I'm really happy with, because it looked good in my studio, but it looks bloody good in your gallery.
You're too kind.
Yeah, it's true. It's fantastic. You know, it never looked as good as it's my studio. And the wonderful thing about this is that with American Smoke, it was that thing of bringing all the different elements of the different materials put onto the canvas, and then the stroke, the fluorescent green stroke, which was wonderful because I used a very wet brush, not knowing that it would evaporate, because I leave them all on the floor while I'm working. And I came back the next day, and because of the material that had gone on here, it had evaporated off, and so gave this wonderful... Again, I didn't know that was going to be called American Smoke, but when I came back and saw the painting, it had to be American Smoke, simply because of the evaporation of the fluorescent green.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Right, well, thank you very much.
Not at all. You are welcome, dear sir. And let's play out to Glider.
Yes.
To the man, to Captain Beefheart.